Hey everybody, Whitney here with a Identify and Heal solo episode about the repercussions and consequences of accepting low-grade love. Or is it really even love if it's not high quality? Maybe we could say a low-grade connection. The risks and repercussions of accepting a low-grade connection. Let me explain what I mean. Many of us are out here in the dating world and we're doing our best trying to make connections, trying to put ourselves out there, trying to learn how to respect ourselves, respect others, find someone who can see us for who we are, all the things. And then we come across somebody who meets some of the boxes. Maybe they're nice, maybe they're attractive, maybe you have similar interests, those sort of things. And then you talk for a while, but then you're realizing that some things are not hitting. Some things are not aligned. You're not quite being treated how you'd like to. It's not quite what you were looking for. What do? You're at a fork in the road. You're at a turning point. It's early on. We're not talking like months deep. We're talking early on because that's when you got to get it. Nip it in the bud, as they say. But you don't. Let's say you don't. Let's say you know in your head, you know that it's not good. You know that it's not for your best to do this, that they're not the one. There's many reasons to date someone who isn't the one, right? We do it our whole lives. When we first start dating in our teens, 20s, whenever, we figure that we're probably not dating the one. And it's great to get experience and such, but you hit a point in life, which I mentioned a lot in the show, that if you're listening, you're probably there, where you're saying, I'm kind of tired, I'm exhausted of dating. I would like to settle down. Thank you. I'm done. I'm ready to retire from the game. So if you're there, and if you're in the situation where there's somebody who's come along and they're good enough and there's some potential, but you know deep down, you're like, yeah, it's low grade. Not quite what I'm looking for, not quite feeling how I've visioned feeling when I think about meeting my life partner, a soulmate. Yet, there they are. We'll call it a low-grade connection. What are the risks and consequences of just going for it? Again, I'm not saying there's any right or wrong or good or bad. You do what you want to do. You have to go around as many times as you need to figure it out. And who knows, maybe your intuition is telling you, yeah, you need this. It's not it, but like this is going to teach you something. This is going to hit a nerve that's going to help you realize something that you need to work on, address, heal from. So go for it. But if more of you is saying, this just looks like a detour, this looks like a presented opportunity that now it's your time to choose. I believe there comes a time in our lives where it's no longer advantageous or useful to go another round. We've done it enough. We've learned it, but the same type of person shows up wearing a different jacket and we could be tempted. So what are the repercussions? I was talking with my friend about this. My lovely friend who is now married with her divine soul partner. They're very happy. They're in a beautiful marriage, very calm, very peaceful, married for years. And she is amazing, but she was on a mission to find her person. She's also very astrologically inclined. She's the one that introduced tarot to me. Beautiful woman. And she just knew what she wanted. She knew she wanted to find her person and she was all about it. And they have a crazy story of meeting and finding each other. They'd known each other for years. And then they ran into a coffee shop accidentally when he was supposed to go to a date and she went to the wrong place. Can you believe it? It's like out of a rom-com. Anyways, that's enough about that. Her and I were talking about the dating experiences. And when we come to these situations, how if we make that choice, when we know deep down, this is not going to go anywhere. This is not really who I'm looking for. This isn't how I want to feel with the person that I end up with, my person. This is not how I would feel with my soulmate. I don't feel really seen or heard fully the way I've imagined, but I'm going to go for it. So we use the analogy of it's like taking the shot, right? I used to drink, I don't now, but if any of you drink or used to drink, there were often nights where I was already pretty drunk and somebody would be like, hey, let's do shots. And I would like look at the shot and be like, this is probably going to be it. And I would take it, bam, and I'd black out. not every time, but sometimes, right? It was just, you need that one last one where the next day you're like, shit, I should have took that shot. That put me over the edge. So we're saying how it's like that. When you make that choice, it's like you're taking that shot that puts you over the edge, and then bam, you're out. Because we talked about when you make that choice and you get involved with somebody, she referred to it as falling asleep in self-betrayal. You're basically saying, well, this isn't really good for me. I can feel my body telling me no. I can feel my emotional body saying, no, please, can we not get involved with another person who's really not the one for me, who's really not going to treat me how I deserve, who's not going to be this vibrant, healthy, beautiful connection. Can we not? And you say, I'm going to do it anyways, because it's here. And maybe it'll feel really good. Maybe it'll validate me a little bit, whatever the reason. You're going against your intuition, against what your body is telling you, what your emotional body is telling you. Maybe your mind is the one that's like, well, maybe, right? Your mind could be a trickster. So you go forward, and then what happens is when you get involved with somebody, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, okay? This is my friend and I. If any men are listening, I don't know if you guys listen to this Women Waken podcast of mine. I don't know if it's the same for men. I need to have a show with a man and talk to him about these things. But I think for women, and I've spoken to this before, is that what you have to be careful of when getting involved with people is that women work from their emotions. Again, we're receivers. So when we make this lighthearted, low-grade connection, we act like it's no big deal, but you're literally inviting someone in to your entire being. You guys are intimate. They will be inside of you. When you spend time with them, their emotions or their emotional energy and their energy in general comes inside of you. You get wrapped up in it. There's nothing casual about connections or sex. Casual sex is a oxymoron. Connecting with another human is not like nothing. It's a big deal when you spend time with somebody. And I'm saying this because it's easy to get wrapped up in it. That's what I was saying that I've talked about in other episodes, is that we want to be mindful of thinking that we'll just give it a try, because this is what I'm all leading up to. This is what I'm trying to get to. You take that shot, you pass out, it put you over the edge, you fall asleep. And my friend and I were joking about how you can fall asleep and wake up 3 years later and say, holy fuck, I just spent 3 years wasting my time in that relationship that I was just going to check it out. Because you slide into it and then you get wrapped up in feelings, and it's not quite there. It's that low grade, but feelings are feelings. Connection is connection. So even just a little bit of it is still nice, right? It's like saying, if you could have like a small sliver of cake, and you're like, this is good. It's nice to have like just a little bit, but then that's keeping you from having a nice big old slice of cake, right? Like whether it's a small slice or a big slice, it's still good. But wouldn't you rather have like a nice giant slice of cake? I would always. I love cake. Okay, so my point is, at a certain point in your life, really any time in your life, it's important to be mindful of who you get involved with. But goodness knows that your 20s and into your 30s are a time of feeling things out. You don't even know what you like yet, perhaps. Maybe you haven't had much relationship experience. It makes sense. But again, once you've gone around, it's not your first rodeo, you know how these things go, you know how you feel in someone's presence who's only a low grade connection. Be mindful of the choice you make, because it could lead you to falling asleep in a low grade relationship for 3 years. And then you wake up and you realize it's been 3 years. And there you are with really nothing to show for it. Again, every relationship is incredibly valuable. You will learn in it. You will have experiences, but if it's a very similar type, then it might just be the same experience over again. Especially again, if you're already at that point in your life where you've recognized and identified who you want, what type of person, what type of attributes, how you want to feel with them, but this other offer comes along that's not it, and you take it. That's what I'm talking about. It's this crucial point. It's like you've really reached this crossroads of, okay, now I know what to look out for. I've realized the red flags, both in my body, my mind, and my spirit, emotional body. I've recognized red flags in other people that don't work for me. I've recognized what I like and I don't like. I've recognized who I want to be. You've figured it all out. You've done the work. But then this shot is put on the table. And it's like, how about one more? Just one more. This guy comes along, girl, whoever, comes along and looks pretty nice, and it's right there. And you say, maybe I'll just try it. So you take the shot and you pass out and you wake up 3 years later. I know it's a bit dramatic, but we were just joking about it, and she had friends like that too, who they thought it was harmless and they would just try it out, but you get attached to somebody. That's the point I'm trying to make here, especially for women. Again, men, call me out, tell me if I'm wrong, if you have the experience of this too. But actually, I know men have this experience, because let's be real. I have brothers. I know about this. Obviously, I have men friends. Men, I think, will usually do this mostly because they want to have sex, right? Men will get involved with a woman, whether if he thinks that she's not really the right one and isn't really who knows straight off the bat that she's not material that he would marry, be with long term. But if he got involved with her, that'd be, he'd be getting laid regularly. So he'll do it. I know, again, I have men in my life, and I'm not judging. That's just, I think that's the male's experience, and the women's is more, well, then that maybe there's something here. Maybe we could have a nice connection. I'd have a companion for, what do they call it? Cuffing season, when you're like getting close to the holidays. I could have a beach buddy for the summer, right? Like, I think women more so think about companionship, sharing emotions, the potential. Even if we know it's low grade, I think women always kind of think like, well, but maybe he'll surprise me. And then men might get this because you can get tied up in a relationship that you just had for sex and then wake up 5 years later and realize, why did I do that? Why did I waste my time with someone that I knew damn well was not what I was looking for? So what are the risks? What are the consequences involved here? Well, when we fall asleep through self-betrayal, which again, I call it self-betrayal because you're going against your intuition. You're going against probably agreements that you made with yourself. This is hearkening. I've already brought up alcohol, but it's reminding me of when I talk about addiction. Because for me, with addiction, I would make all these promises. Oh, well, I'm never going to drink hard alcohol again. I'm only going to drink beer and wine, or I'll only drink 3 drinks whenever I go out with my friends. I would break all those rules. I'm never going to drive drunk again. And then I would do it, lo and behold. So it's kind of like that. We had made agreements. Again, if you're at the place in your life, man or woman, where you say, oh, there had so many relationships, one after the next. They've been great. I've learned a lot. Some not so great. Some were more challenging than others. One, I broke my heart. Whatever it is, you have your dating history. Very valuable. You got it in the books. And now you're at this crossroads of, okay, now I really have identified. I know what I want. I know what I don't want. I know how I want to feel with this person. I know what I want to experience with them. I've made visualizations. I have written out a list of qualities that are really important to me. I've identified my red flag deal breakers. But again, then you meet somebody and you compromise and you betray yourself because you've made an agreement with yourself. I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to wait for someone that's worth going all the way with. So I'm offering this to anyone listening because it also helps you to practice honoring yourself and not betraying yourself. If you've made an agreement, if you've established what you want, it's kind of like manifestation, where you can't just want it sometimes. You can't just one time say, I'm going to be a billionaire. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to start a business, be super successful, and be a billionaire. And then forget about it and be like, oh, actually, that sounds like a lot of work. So, and then you only think about it once in a while. The universe is listening, but you have to be consistent. You have to consistently, if you waver, how the heck can it know what you want? The universe will always deliver what you ask for, but be wary of what you're asking for. And is it consistent that you're asking for it? So when you do that, when you choose differently, you're telling universe, oh, actually, I didn't mean all that stuff I said. I didn't mean all that about really wanting a partner and really wanting to make it work this time with somebody, because I'm actually going to go for this low grade connection because I want to get laid, because I want intimacy, because I want companionship, because maybe, just maybe, this will surprise me. Here's the other thing. Like I was saying, you can take the shot of a low grade relationship and pass out for 3 years. What I mean by that is that, like I said, you get sucked into it because you do start to have feelings for them. Again, the smaller piece of cake. It's not what you really wanted. It's not what you really know you deserve, but it's still nice. It's nice to talk to somebody regular. It's nice to have that person that you get to share your life with. Call them up and tell them about your day. Text them when something funny or interesting happens. When news comes along, right? To make plans for on a Friday night. All of these things, we are humans. We are meant to be in union with one another, to have companions. We are not lone wolves. There is time and place for being a hermit and having time for your space, but that's when we take space for ourselves, we always need to return back to reconnecting again, ebb and flow. We're not meant to always be solo. So we crave that. So that's why even if we get that low grade offer, we can get sucked into it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. When you're like, you find yourself even thinking in the midst of it, you're like, oh man, there's a lot of problems there, or this really is not very passionate. Maybe it's just not a lot of chemistry. We don't have that much in common. Our conversations are kind of dull. We're already running out of stuff to talk about. It's only been a few months. But then, you know, you go home and you get a text from them that's like, good night, so fun seeing you. And you get that warm feeling where you're like, oh, I'm so glad I have them. It's better than nothing. I'm so glad I have this tiny piece of cake to have before I go to bed, because it's better than nothing. So once you make that choice to try this low grade relationship, I use the analogy of, okay, this is for any cycle that we go through. So let's say a cycle is like a river. The first time you jump in, you get sucked around, you're like, damn, that was crazy. And you keep walking down the path. And then there's another river and you're like, well, I'm going to just, and then I fall in again. You go around again and again. So this is, again, it's this crossroads. You come to yet another river. And the thing is that with this analogy, you can't just like half get in and then get out, right? As I was saying, you get sucked into it. So once you make that choice, you have to let it run its course. I truly do believe in that phrase, let it run its course. It's not over till it's over. I believe in both those phrases. I've experienced them. So that's what you have to keep in mind. Are you ready to take on that fact? Are you ready to contend that you might lose months, years of your valuable time in a situation that's not aligned with what you really want? And now that you've already established what you really want, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're in that space where you're ready to love yourself fully and therefore receive true love. Do you want to make that step into the river and fall in and see what it means for it to run its course? Because again, think about it. How hard is it sometimes to break out of a relationship that just isn't working? And I've had, situationships that lasted 2 months. So call me a liar if you want, call my bluff. But then I don't know, then that's how long the river is. The river is 2 months. It was still 2 months of your time that you could have spent, right? But it could be longer than that. All I'm saying is, are you ready to take the repercussions that come from this decision of time wasted? Maybe there's no more growth to have in these kind of situations. So you get to choose your experience, right? You get to choose whether you want to hold out and wait for what you know you truly deserve, or if you want to jump in the river that you already know, take that low grade connection, take that shot. What do they say? Down the hatch, knock it back. For old time's sake. That's what it can feel like, right? Like when you have like a fun night out, you're at like a party, maybe you're in your late 30s and you meet this person and you're hitting it off and it's a great night. And you're like, wow, this is cool, And then you exchange numbers and you talk and you think, oh, dang, that's not it. You just know, your intuition tells you. I'm not saying that like you want to be so picky that you're not going to give anyone a chance. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, when you know damn well, this is just not the one that you were looking for. And it could even be blatant, like they turn out to be kind of rude, or just, you don't really like their sense of humor or their personality, but it was fun and they're there and they want to go out and do this thing the next week. So you say yes. Anyways, again, coming back to my point, I'm going to be quiet in a second and wrap this up. You are in control. I said this on a recent episode, but life is just a series of choices. And again, what I'm saying is that if you're watching this video, if you're interested in meeting your soulmate, it's because you've already made a lot of choices when it comes to relationships. And if you're single and watching this video and thinking about your future partner, then none of them have led to what you wanted. So you've done the work to identify, what is it that I really want? What is the healing I have to do? How do I learn to love and honor myself so highly that I will meet someone who truly loves, honors, and sees me? What are you going to do when someone comes along that isn't it? Are you going to jump in the river? bringing it to your awareness, because maybe somebody's listening to this and you just happen to meet someone. You're like, what the fuck? How did she know this? How did she know that I met someone that's like kind of cool, but I don't know if I should do it? I'm not telling you yes or no. Nobody can tell you that except for you, but I'm asking everybody to, from now on, pause and consider. Because once you jump in, you're going to have to let it run its course, because you might get attached, you might get drawn in, you might get used to enjoying the sex with them, and you might not want to let it go, and it might delay. It might set that timeline back a little further in terms of meeting your soulmate, because I do believe in fate and destiny, but we also have free will. So I think that if you've set your intention for a soulmate, you will meet them, but you can push back the arrival date, right? Like a package that you're waiting to get. And it's like, oh, sorry, this is actually isn't going to come for another few months or whatever it is. So that's the repercussion. That's what I'm offering. Simplified, what do they call it? TDLR, is that be mindful that your choices have consequences. They result in repercussions. There will be results from them. If you decide to take that shot of a low grade connection, you might very well pass out for 3 years and wake up realizing you're right back where you started. So just be mindful. It's not a threat. I hope it doesn't sound, I mean, it might not happen. Maybe you go out for them with like a week and you're like, what was that chick talking about? But you could get caught up in it. But even then, maybe on the other side of that, then you meet your soulmate. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. Maybe you're willing to jump in because maybe you feel that you're not going to meet your soulmate for a long time. So you're like, I'd rather experience another connection, because connections are beautiful. Connections are a lovely, amazing thing. They're what life is all about, especially romantic connections. They can be incredible, but also incredibly challenging. But here's the other thing, as I was mentioning, they can be incredibly impactful, right? I think especially for women, men too, of course, but again, we are receivers. We are of emotions, we're water. The feminine is that which is water. So we're in our emotions and our feelings. So we don't really have casual connections. So you're also gonna have to factor in, you meet this person, you spend time with them, how are you gonna feel about having to have another breakup, another period of time where you're getting over that person? I've been a nomad for a few years now, and I've had 2 big trips, both sort of in like the southern region and then also up to the Northwest, driving around. And I realized the other day that with both of those, I had a different guy on my mind that I was getting over. And it sucked because I wanted to have those times to be open and to be contemplating my life and life in general. But I thought about those guys every single day, both those trips. I was hung up on it. I was still healing from it. I was getting over it because I made that choice to pursue a connection with people that I knew were probably not for my highest good. And they taught me a lot of lessons. I needed it in my life, but I'm going to take off again on the road pretty soon. And I've had a few opportunities to have low grade connections. And I decided no, because when I drive away next time on my trip, I want a clear head and a clear heart that's not yearning for somebody that really wasn't for me, that wasn't my person, but we had spent time together. We built a little world together. We had our own experiences that in some ways were beautiful, in some ways were terrible. All that shit sticks with you because it's powerful. It's fucking life force energy. You're meeting another expression of the universe and you're sharing your souls together. That's why I'm saying there's nothing casual about connections or sex. Like, I'm sorry, but you're joining essences together. So I'm making that choice. So go out. I'm not saying like go out and like, with like boxing gloves on and punch anybody who tries to make a movie, I'm telling you to pause. Actually, I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm offering to pause next time and think, is this the choice I want to make? Is this worth pursuing? More times than not, sometimes the decision will be made for you. I'll be honest, I met someone recently and I could tell like they had even said they're no longer interested in even having a relationship anymore. It's not what they want in their life. They're older than me. But we spent some time together and I was getting those feels, right? I was all buzzing inside. I wanted to jump on him. And I almost did, but I pushed through and I resisted. And then he disappeared. We stopped hanging out because in my mind, I was like, fuck, I can't say no. I'm going to have to, I literally thought like, I'm going to have to jump in the river and see where this goes. I'll take the repercussions. But the universe I think it intervened because he disappeared and didn't even give me the opportunity. And now I'm back and being like, oh, okay, so that happened. I broke my agreement. I betrayed myself a little because I was pulled into that intensity. But I thank the universe for that intervention. Maybe you all have an intervention as well. If the universe is really trying to fast track you to your soulmate, which I think that's my situation. Okay, everybody. I hope that was helpful. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for listening.